Hello and welcome. My name is Robin Schmidt. This is The Defiant, and welcome to a very special episode of Head to Head as we welcome one of the world's leading digital artists. His work has been exhibited all over the world in intimate settings, as well as giant public installations, and his Berlin show last year had visitors literally queuing around the block, drawing comparisons with the legendary Kusama. He is now firmly established as an NFT artist, drawing on vast data sets that repeatedly force us to confront our own humanity in the face of the staggering beauty generated by the data. His latest project, An Important Memory for Humanity, draws from the data collected by the first all-civilian spaceflight aboard a SpaceX Dragon rocket. He is, of course, Refik Anadol. Refik, welcome.
Robin, thank you so much. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to talk to you. I have been enthralled to your art for such a long time now, and I really just kind of want to dig into all sorts of curious stuff, but mainly I wanted to start by going back to the beginning. Someone was asking me to ask you, when was the first time you encountered a GAN? And what did you think when you first encountered it, and how did it trigger something inside you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it was 2015-16. That was the year I was incredibly inspired. First of all, I got my first computer when I was 8 years old. And becoming like a gamer is very naturally what happened, I guess. But when you play games from a childhood, like the games becomes this friends, and the players in the games becomes your AI friend. So for many players and for many game nerd, like AI is not something too far away. But for a creator, as an artist or designer, if you want to work with AI, that's always kind of this dream state, like how you can interact with the thinking brush. So for me, to 2016, I'm deeply grateful for my, I guess, first true residency at Google. So back in time, Ian Goodfellow, who invented the GAN algorithm, was at Google as well. And I was the first generation artist there with Mario Klingemann also. And he was in, I think, London and doing residency at Google Arts and Culture. And we kind of at the same time getting these incredible opportunities from Google's, at least for my end, was fantastic. I trained my very first GAN experience in 2016, and seeing a machine dreaming 1.7 million documents was just incredible. By the way, I'm also very grateful to say that after 6 years, a couple of days ago, our studio selected by OpenAI to use the new DALL-E 2. So it's a really remarkable 6 years of constant research of machine hallucinations.
You use very creative and evocative words when describing what is a very machine process, and it feels very much like Terence K. Dick kind of language. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I mean, was there a fascination with sci-fi when you were growing up, and space travel and this kind of thing?
In I don't know. Since I was 8 years old, got my first dose of science fiction, Blade Runner, and I was a child. I don't know how to speak English, but my cousin was like translating the movie in like as much as, and I clearly remember that like there's this moment that like when you as a child understand that what you watch is not a human, is an android, and that android tells another android that memory is not his or her memories. Like I clearly remember this moment. Like, what is this? And then William Gibson, Philip K. Dick, of course, and many sci-fi, dystopian, utopian, all that world inspired me so much. And I love cinema a lot because I think what I do as a team of studio, very similar. I think it's kind of like there's a director and there's an incredible team around the idea, thinking and producing vision of near future by using tools right now we have. So it's a very similar feeling, but more near future, more realistic than just galaxies and like try to like do a light and time travel, like just more realistic, more right now or near future. Sci-fi is very inspiring to me.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Blade Runner, because that film is about androids that are more human than the humans who are sent to hunt them down, and it really does contextualize humanity. And you see Roy Batty, his lip trembling like a 5-year-old kid, and it's just so surreal and strange. And this idea, actually, they did really well in Westworld. This idea that machines
Yes.
don't understand time the same way
Yes.
that we do, so their experiences don't age. and so they could be in any place at any time. But I feel like what you've managed to do really incredibly well is humanize data and turn it
Yeah.
into something that humans can are forced to think about. And I see the ocean data, and you see the ocean data visualized. It's like, this is, I don't know what to make of this, and I don't like myself very much. And do you
So,
start with an end goal in mind, an end emotion you want to elicit from people? How does that process work?
so I think a little bit maybe the first day I want to maybe very quickly remember together. It was 2008, and I was in my undergrad, the last moments, the last months, and like this moment of like excitement in life, like what am I doing next? That's the mindset. And there was an incredible class from a teacher, came from the Helsinki Aalto University, and unfortunately his class there was only 3 people because he was teaching a custom software called Pure Data, and it's mostly designed for musicians or sound gurus who wants to like interact with sensors real time, sensing the world around us in a way that you can quickly turn every data stream into an instrument. But our department was a visual department. I think nobody like think about the class as like a value. And I was alone and a computer scientist student and a one other like student. Like we were just like having in a heaven because every class, 3 people, an amazing instructor, you learn the software like next level. So I exposed visual programming language 2008, and I think I coined the term data painting in 2008. And I'm still searching if anyone in the wild internet is there. I'm happy to like meet you and say hi. But that was the day the first time I was able to visualize the ultrasound sensor, and seeing that line and point in the simplest geometry ever. The idea of like making invisible visible started for me at that day. And over the years, started using software called VVVV. It's an incredible community visual programming language. And then exercise soft image. Like I just grow my skill set on top of visual programming language. And what was amazing is the data is not just a number. Data is a form of a memory, and that memory can take many shape and form. So of course the computer graphics is a very wild like range of like imagination, and any algorithm can be plotted randomly. But for me the random was not inspiring. I was much inspired by the idea of using any data source, wind, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, brain signals, heart rate, whatever you wish that exists, plot a new reality beyond what is designed for. In my early studies, like people are saying, like, oh, but this can be any noise algorithm. This can be any like it can be, but that algorithm can only make that shape because of that memory of life. So that became like this incredibly inspiring world of like how data can become a pigment. But I think truly the imagination of machine as a collaborator, the idea of inventing a thinking brush was a dream, because that
But
8 years,
but is it thinking though?
I 100 sure, yes, it is, because I think in a conditions, in a model of reality that is predefined. I mean, right now,
Okay. So, but that doesn't sound like thinking to me. That sounds like programming.
it's programming, but I mean, there's these conditions of learning, remembering, and eventually, like you have this moment of like imagining. It's a brush that has this quality of like, first of all, this brush is not a brush in the physical world we know or in our like own reality. I don't believe that in at the moment, like unless you are some multi-billion research company, from an individual like point of view, I'm talking. Creating an AI in a creative way is not a live model that can reconstruct certain realities, unless again you have certain resources. For me, what was the idea is I just imagine a brush that can dip into the mind of a machine and paint with thinking, or paint with machine consciousness. So that consciousness is a predefined, meaning, let's say during the pandemic, we were super ambitious about like nature and download 300 million images of nature. So nature is a term of like can get a much broader context, right? Flora systems, perennials, like landscapes, the water, ocean, lake, clouds, like every single items and every single beautiful living things exist in the nature can become a subset of that domain. So that's how the brush start to create its own universe. And that data goes through like algorithms such as image recognition, like lower dimension reductions, and eventually again algorithms. And eventually you create this domain of reality in a constrained world. And that's the brush where it can be dipped and paint with the algorithms in a very like a capsulated world of imagination.
So I'm presuming there's a bunch of custom software that you've created
Yes.
to enable you to do this. And you must have one of the most formidable back ends behind you with all sorts of secret technology. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are you using to process this? Because it must be big.
Significant, I think. So first of all, let me go back to like a little bit early years. 2013, it was my second MFA degree at UCLA at Los Angeles. I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey, by the way. Finished my undergrad and first MFA, but I was looking for a more condensed world of like learning, not only just context and discourse, but also technique. So I moved to Los Angeles and studied at UCLA Design Media Arts Department, and I'm very grateful to be in that community because we have incredible pioneers in the field. First of all, like pioneers of like, sorry,
the machines, they found you.
Yeah. There was like a timer. Sorry. What was amazing is the DMA community, the school and its umbrella. Casey Rias, I mean, he invented the software called processing, and it was my very first time learning Java, like 10 years ago, and it was an incredible start point, like learning from the like creator of the software and the mindset, like how to think about data as a pigment. It was an incredible foundation. And then on top of that, like history of like media arts and other heroes, learning how to use projections, like the whole like streamlining the imagination as much as possible. And just after that, 2013, I got my first Microsoft Research Award, and Bill Gates was in the jury. And my dream was basically saying, one day the buildings will remember and dream. And 9 years ago, as a student on the stage with almost no income and student visa in US, like trying to dream things with my white shirt like on the stage, it was surreal. And that idea got a Best Vision Award, which is a significant number of funding for a student, which turned into my first computers. The first computers was like badass machines with like remarkable GPU and CPU. And over that year, I just grew on top of that. Like 2014, I was already mining. Like 2014, 16, I was just mining and like in the like deep crypto world. Like because I mean, anyone in the computer graphics, anyone like using GPUs, I think eventually remembers that universe of like what to do, what else you can do with the GPUs, right? Like this project, for example, using 18 projectors, each 4K, and but I think 2016 and 17 very important. 2017, I'm very grateful for Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO, and his team. So we connect for a project for the headquarters of NVIDIA. And because we're in the computer graphics and using Unreal Engine and many other game engines like Unity and Deep Level in the computer graphics, suddenly he and his support became the like foundation of our computer graphics. We worked with the RTX technology 2018 in Munich during Gamescom, the very first time RTX truly used, and the very first time a human reflection used in an installation in the art context. Like we did many like these pioneerships over the years, and these became a massive pile of computers for studio. So we have more than 400 GPUs, and we have two.
Sorry, what? How many?
More than 400 GPUs.
Oh my God, you're responsible for the polar ice caps melting. It's all you, Refik.
I mean, not all of them used directly, and we have extremely careful calculations what we are messing up. But additionally, instead of losing our track of like computation, we grounded by inner like our own skill set and created many softwares. For example, we developed many real-time graphic engines. We created many ways of curating data, cleaning data. We created tools to create real-time AI interactions, specifically NVIDIA StyleGAN series, entire StyleGANs. We developed a real-time sound and visual, and we even create real-time scent augmentation recently for an immersive.
Smell-o-vision.
Yes.
You made Smell-o-vision, finally.
Yes. And because these are all becoming like a body of work, right? This 14 years, 13 years, like every single project became a software, became an experience, a hardware discoveries. Like nerding with the technology is something, but creating a pile of skill set. Again, I'm grateful for my team, by the way. Let's remember them because we are 15 people, can speak 15 language, represent 10 countries. So I'm on those shoulders of giants. They are my giants that I'm on their shoulders, and I think it became this academic thinking, like a media lab. So like just produce intense amount of ideas and tools to innovate and discover new feelings and imagination.
There was one of the criticism I had of NFT art, excuse me, in the early days was that it's very, very easy now to get very high quality renders out of graphics. We had Jules Urbach on yesterday talking about Octane. I'm sure you've come across Octane
Octane
in the
is a
past.
very like a one, like a Redshift and Octane are like our go-to tools for last 9 years, or I don't know.
Yeah, I believe you. And one of the criticisms I had was that it's very easy to get a result that looks great. I mean, like the stream, I've got a lot on my video. Like everything looks great. It's really easy. So it becomes harder and harder to stand above the crowd, to stand above and say something new and original and fresh. I think one of the great appeals of your work is the scale, the sheer confrontational nature of it. But I'm also curious how you keep things fresh, how you approach a project in a new way, in a new idea, because it would be very easy to repeat yourself, I think.
Absolutely. It's like, for example, machine hallucination. I mean, people are saying, oh, another like fluid dynamics, another particles. Actually, that's a very limited vision when you think about that, because I think the body of work for creator takes years, like takes years to like compute ideas, find meanings in why you exactly want to do that feeling, and most importantly, for machine hallucinations, started 2016. If you go to maybe archive dreaming. Which is under yeah, it's on the it's
Public
next
art.
to
Oh, I'm
yeah,
gonna go all the works.
yeah yeah, archive dreaming, just one down, sorry.
This
Yeah,
is terrible TV. Okay,
one
where
more
am I
down,
going?
right, one right, sorry, up,
This one.
yes. So this project is a pilot of very first time, I think, in the world, AI truly used in a public art installation. Like 2016 is so remarkable for me that I was very sure that using this concept of real-time AI in a public space, showing how the data goes through this stream of like information. So by the way, this is a library in a public space and has 1.7 million documents. So what you are doing is here moving through a corridor, and human watches AI learning 1.7 million documents as a performance. For me, library is one of the most nerdest but the most divine place where information becomes knowledge and eventually wisdom, right? If there's a human in the game, or a being. Um, so this project, when I first encountered with the idea of like machine hallucination, if a machine can learn, can it dream? Like that question was just an infinite potential and possibilities. So during this project, after training the first GAN, the idea was, how can I really trace mission decisions? I mean, GAN is one thing, which is outputting some sort of like abstraction, but I didn't feel it's like a three-dimensional. Even though AI learns in multiple dimension, right? When AI learns, you can assume 10 to 24 dimensions. But at the end, what you are exporting is a two-dimensional representation. So it was around those days started to explore the fluid dynamics. By the way, I'm using fluid dynamics in my work more than 10 years, obsessed with water, like not only just this, with the wind patterns and plotting like temperature. And I did many other studies with fluid dynamics. But this project, when I got the idea of like, all right, so tracing mission decisions with fluid dynamics and interacting with the GAN outputs artistically became the work. So if you go down maybe a little bit, there's one epic video for people who are like, maybe this is the, by the way, space we created. You go through a tunnel and land in this feature of the library of the future, whatever you call it. I mean, libraries are super cool places. I don't know like how nerdy you are, but I mean, oh, this is the one, this video. I think this is historic. I mean, 6 years ago, right? Like reconstructing the idea of, on the left side, it's a DC GAN latent walk, and on the right side, we are watching fluid dynamics. So
Okay. Wait. So I know a bit, but I don't know a lot. A DC GAN latent walk. I mean, what
okay,
is that?
so DC GAN back in 6 years ago was an open source generative adversarial network that you are kind of back in time, state of the art, open source algorithm allows you to like create machine dreams or hallucinations. Basically, we were, by the way, thanks to Mike Taika, from also a Google friend and a wonderful artist. This has been trained back in time. I mean, 1.7 million documents and a DC GAN was already like some benchmark, by the way, like training an AI with a 1.7 million documents. So the idea was let machine hallucinate new documents. And in a library you go in near future that is dreamed by AI. Like who will define what is real, right? That was a like basic concept. And on the right side, which is an Houdini based like a simulation that is taking the movements of the machine dreams or hallucinations, edge detection, and reconstructing into this imaginary fluid of water or some fluids. The mechanics of fluids can change, right? Like the amount of particles, the viscosity, and how long you want those particles to interact with, in which conditions, like your flipped domain space, and so on, so on. So, and of course, lighting and texture and so on. So the idea was just take that, no offense, but two-dimensional boring world and reconstruct a new reality. So that's how machine hallucination started 6 years ago.
And that probably provided the flavor of a lot of the work that followed.
Yes.
As you moved ahead, and some of those kind of cascading giant installations,
Yes.
you know, you could watch them for hours and hours and hours to see what's what. How did you get into it? Go ahead.
By the way, if you go a little bit down, just a little bit down, just a little bit down, I think there should be another. If you go up, sorry, one more time. One more time. Okay, maybe not here yet, but if you go maybe back to like the menu, because there's a machine hallucinations show reel that shows this last 6 years of research. I mean, this is a very exciting example because, like, if you think about an idea that takes 6 years to body of work, like it doesn't finish immediately. Like every single new data sets, new concepts creates new experiences, and it's infinite. So yes, it may be repeating itself, but when MoMA comes with our NFT project, I mean, recognizing the movement, like.
Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, I'm curious how it seems obvious now that I know you were mining, that you would end up in NFTs. But what was the moment for you to head in the direction of like a crypto native art form?
So 2014, I was very aware of the crypto scene, and I'm very early, I guess, investor and early in the game. And while people were having fun with me, like many of like crypto people, like having like, what is this? What is this saying? Like, what is this? Like, why do you take our time, kind of thing? But having a lot of GPUs eventually, like 15 to 17, 14, 17, 3 years, I mined a lot of Ethereum and learn about the culture, deep forums and, Facebook pages. And like, I mean, I just spent so much time that 3 years as a true hobby turned into a value. And 2018, I got a one phone call, one of my collector, actually living in Europe. And actually WhatsApp message, not even a call, like saying, hey, I cannot sleep without putting the artwork I collected to my digital wallet. So not NFTs, just saving a file in digital wallet. That was like a dialogue. Like I said, what do you want to, like, what is it? Like, you have the artwork, do whatever you wish. Like, because my mind, I'm coming from the gallery world. So I did many installations and many like exhibitions. And I have many like collectors from a physical classical world. But I didn't understand like what is he saying? And then he said, you know what, there's this thing called like NFTs, and it is, and I need to like do this because I cannot sleep. I don't feel that an artwork in physical world on a computer is enough for me to feel that it's safe and secure. That was when I learned about it. And by the way, Pak and people, and we have many friends in common in like more than 10 years in the space. And I was very close to watching Pak's and like seeing how the amazing, and Artnom, I mean, Artnom is an amazing person who have been sharing incredible information. But there was one problem. 2019, I was getting like, okay, I should try, you know, minting some work. But I remember Nifty Gateway was one of those like websites that I was like closely checking and super rare, but I couldn't see the value proposition that is exists in the physical world. Like I had some artworks that have been like remarkably much higher than what was the value system back in time. And I asked a couple of collectors like, hey, like, can I like mint this artwork and do that? Like, wait, but there's this artwork called $1. Like, if you put your work there, what will happen? Like I said, I mean, should we not try and experiment with it? So there was this like blockage, to be honest, from the collectors and the. But I just don't want to wait. I was just like, no, I should like try this. And 2020, 2 years ago, 2020 winter, I started talking with Duncan and Tommy from also Nifty Gateway. I said, hey, like we should do something together. I said, all right, Renaissance. Let's start minting machine dreams and memories to the blockchain because it's natively digital. Let's take this idea and grow over the years. So it's all about AI and data. It's all about machine dreams and memories and creating experience for the blockchain. A native idea. But whatever I do, since I'm coming from a physical also world of installation, I promise myself to always bring the physical and virtual together. Never keep it just virtual, always grounded to the physical world. A print, a screen, an experience in life, a utility that is just beyond, blockchain experience. So that was a dream, and last 2 years, I'm very grateful for everyone, every single human or a machine that allowed this to happen.
So listen, you walk into this space and you expose yourself to just the most insane love, but also hostility, and communities turn on you in a heartbeat. You know, it's very easy to get caught up in the euphoria, but also be disheartened by not everybody's in it for the art, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I wonder how you navigate that and how you feel about all of that.
So first of all, I'm an artist and I do art. Like it's not a product. It's not just I mean, by the way, I love the communities every single aspect. So I'm not a First of all, I'm a very optimist person. Like I'm coming from a very positive mindset, and I do believe we need the positivity more than ever. The world has enough problems. I'm here to bring solutions or beauty or aesthetics. So that's I find my mission in the most positive way. But of course, when you put your heart, your time, your mind, your life into an idea that is not in just a couple of weeks ago or a year ago, you look at every single thing like from your life perspective, not just a couple of weeks. Because I'm seeing many people like boarding and like doing things very quickly. I mean, quick means also 1-2 years, by the way. Like when you're working 14 years, 10 years, like it's the time is different, and the amount of resource you are putting it, and art is the value of art is not only comes from like bunch of like speculation. The value of art comes from an experience that touched someone's mind and soul. For example, the project we did in Berlin, Nature Dreams. I mean, because here's what I'm learning about the community also. Yes, there's incredibly resourceful minds who are researching the artist, looking the journey of the artist, understanding the collaborations, try to guess what can be next. Because I mean, if you're a person of like strategy and design and enjoying a ride and experience in life, you don't most likely do things randomly, right? Like this project called Machine Hallucination Nature Dreams, our collector Mabu, by the way, an amazing, we have a collector. This project received 200,000 people in a gallery in Berlin in 4 or 5 weeks. It is the world's, in Europe most likely, highest volume of audience ever attended. But it is a physical experience in a former church, and there was 1 kilometer queue every morning in Berlin to watch an AI dreaming in a former church. Like it's so meta, but it's so meditative that apparently people felt so space connected and safe. And the majority of the audience were sending incredible messages that saying it was one of the most highest level of reaching contemplation, meditation, feeling secure, and getting out of the negativity of life. So,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like,
When you place it in the context of a time where we'd been enclosed by four walls and forced to like deal with our own inadequacies as human beings on a daily basis, it's. I mean, I look at this and I'm just like, yeah, it's like being confronted by some kind of higher power, and the fact that you put it in a church. I mean, obviously, it's the spirituality of that is inescapable. And it's funny because you mentioned Puck, and one of the things I found fascinating about Puck, because I did a huge series of films on him, her, it, they. It was the consistency. Oh my god! I went back 10 years, and it was just like, here's the idea, and then everything in that period, everything connected. I was like, how do you do that? Because I couldn't. I'm so flighty. I follow things here and there, and I get excited by everything. I'm also a massive nerd. There's no way I could have done things that consistently. But I think one of the difficulties that a lot of artists who come into NFTs face is that they try to please the crowd, and they do work that is substandard because they
yeah.
want to rush it out and catch the moment. And I mean, I think that you've managed to avoid that. But are you able to advise other artists and how to
Yes.
avoid that trap? Because it will kill you if you're not careful.
So, first of all, again, I think many creators are introverts, not extroverts. Meaning, not any many creators will love to share even the artwork they create, the thing they create. So the NFT space or anything in online and virtual space requires you to become your, everything. You are the messenger, you are like the PR, you are like the, accountant, you are like you are your own everything. And then that is a very loaded responsibility, and I know that many people got affected by this heaviness. I'm coming from this field. I mean, I opened my Twitter account 2008. I'm in the Twitter for 14 years. Twitter for me is not a space that I just jump in because of NFTs. I'm seeing this pattern on the people that are just starting to realize the impact and the power of society and community around these ideas. But again, it starts with you, not the community. I mean, if you don't have like a grounding piece of imagination, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have the authenticity, and if you don't have like this base layer of like starting points, I don't think your base is strong enough to create a whole new universe. So for me, what was very helpful is, again, I show you an algorithm from 6 years ago, and of course it takes years to craft it and find the meaning in the work, and creating an audience around the work, and learn from them over the years, and just compile all this data and experience into a meaningful way. So it's not just like one day let me wake up and create something and assume that has an impact on the society. I mean, that's a very low chance. But in here, for example, another example is an NFT artwork. But the artwork is a physical world, and of course, watched by the collectors, expensed by the collectors, and then sold for seven figures. So it's not about like first putting the artwork in a virtual space and assume that it may make the same impact. For me, the value comes from the physical world that allowed people to interact with this experience, and then eventually became a value in the metaverse. So at least that's my imagination since day one. So of course things have been like born in the metaverse for sure, but can you really touch multi-million people's mind and soul at the same time? Can you create an experience that is never done before, that like get the appreciation of the freshness and the discovery innovation? It's hard. But yes, economically you can design a model of economical thinking, like apply all the like cliche of the like space, do something there, and it's another like no offense but a boring project. So the freshness comes from, I think, imagination, and requires a lot of resource. And I think for any upcoming like NFT artist, or anyone want to explore this medium, I think the thoughtfulness, bringing depth to surface is extremely important. And otherwise, I think that idea may be just lost in the deep blockchain, and I don't believe in a long run the value may stay there. I think the value is not a number of like bunch of like cryptocurrencies. The value is something we can feel, I hope.
Well, that's very much about art and its connection to you. Now, listen, we are going to get on to the big one, the space project. And we have J. Harry Edmiston, the producer of that project, who kind of willed it into life, waiting in the wings. But before we do that, we have to pay tribute to our sponsors who actually make all of this possible. So give us 5 minutes and we'll be right back with Refik and J. Harry Edmiston. Avalanche Multiverse is a $290 million program spurring the growth of subnets, Avalanche's novel technology for infinite scalability. Subnets empower an unlimited number of projects to build entirely customized blockchains. So, who subnets? Everyone from GameFi projects like DeFi Kingdoms and Krabada to global enterprises like Deloitte and Lemonade are using subnets to empower Web3 applications without limits. Ready to see for yourself? Try a Multiverse project today. Good morning and good subnetting. Find more info at avax.network. Xerion is mission control for Web3, giving users the ability to trade DeFi tokens, transfer assets across chains, and show off their NFT collections all in one place. Xerion offers a multi-chain experience with asset tracking and trading across 7 networks, including Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and BSC, so you'll never miss an opportunity waiting on gas fees to drop. NFT owners can also see their favorite collectibles and art as widgets on their iPhones or Apple Watches and send them to friends and family in just a few clicks. Users can explore every corner of the metaverse with Xerion from their web, desktop, and mobile apps. Head to xerion.io to connect your wallet and get started today. Spirax recently launched USDS, a decentralized stablecoin with built-in auto yield. The stablecoin generates yield organically from DeFi applications like Curve, then drops it right into your wallet. Residing 100% on-chain, USDS is an ideal collateral for DeFi users and doubles as a high-interest savings account for the metaverse. Thanks to the auto yield, it pays to hold USDS. Visit spirax.io to start earning today. And there we go, we're back. Thank you, sponsors, and welcome, J. Harry Edmiston. You've been on the stream before. How are you, sir? You're muted, by the way, Harry.
Technology. I think I was the last time as well. And very well, Robin. Good to see you. Hi, Refik. How's it going?
Hello, Jerry.
So, listen, guys. Tell me what's going on right now. What is this latest Refik Anadol project?
Crazy excited, very excited. Like this is one of those. I don't know, Jay Harry, please. Like that, you have the many beginnings there.
Have the floor. This project's it's very interesting for a whole slew of reasons. About 13 months ago, I started talking quite extensively with the deputy director of an organization called TRISH, the Translational Research Institute for Space Health. That while a lot of these space carriers were putting commercial astronauts into space, paying passengers, Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, the thing that really struck us was the imminent flight, which was SpaceX's Inspiration 4 at the time, that was carrying research data on behalf of TRISH. And TRISH does a whole slew of experimentation to try and further our understanding of how the human body exists in space, to take that knowledge and see how they can apply it for usage back on Earth, but also to further explore the depths of deep space and potentially putting people on Mars or back on the moon. And I guess the conversations sort of spiraled into really an understanding that we had an opportunity to do something with this data. And we honestly thought that this would be the best thing to put into the hands of Refik, who has an innate ability to visualize data in a way that actually makes it gives people a sort of more of an insight into what this is all about, and it sparks the curiosity of how far we can go with this. And 12 months later, this project has come on in leaps and bounds. And yesterday we had the first of what is a series of days drop for this project. And Refik has taken these data sets and created the most incredible artworks that are really going live as we speak. We're in the middle of the drop.
So, as I understand it, going into space really sucks for the human body. Like prolonged exposure in space, you've got bone density, you've got a whole bunch of things. The people they send into space are hardcore, like military trained human beings.
Yeah.
But the people they sent on this mission are not. They're much more like
Yeah.
you and me, soft, squishy, out of shape. And so the data collected is vitally important for understanding how real human beings would react under prolonged space exposure. I think that's the kind of bigger message here. Just stuff that there is no data on that, none at all.
Yes.
So for you, Refik, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
It's the very first time this data comes to Earth to make art. Let's remember that. Just want to say, like, it's so crazy.
You worked with NASA, right?
Yes, for the last 4 years, actually, 2018, we start working, and I'm very grateful for NASA GPL studio team. They're incredibly creative people at NASA at GPL in Pasadena, in California. We are doing lots of mission visualizations using the mission archives and transforming them into artistic experiences in the new upcoming architectural lobby.
So this mission was called Inspiration 4. And Harry, I guess the artwork is designed to inspire in its own way. But what are you hoping to achieve? And what message are you hoping to get out there with it?
I think it's really a message to promote and help people to really understand the importance of science in this sector. I think people have been at times widely criticized for using the term space tourism, and it is something that is going to become more commonplace. But really, the importance of the work at really understanding how the human body can exist in space, whether it is indeed even feasible. I mean, yes, it is an incredibly hostile environment. Your body gets radiated. There are things such as cranial pressure. Your bones go into a sort of state where they don't quite operate correctly, and prolonged experiences in space are effectively dangerous to the human body. So if we really, as a species, and this goes into a sort of slightly more sci-fi realm, but if we as a species are to exist in a multi-planetary order, then this work is incredibly important for our species on this planet. And I think the fact that this body of work pays tribute to the work that perhaps is often shrouded and people don't necessarily know what's really going on from a scientific research perspective. I think this is what is incredibly important about this.
Yeah. And by the way, so sorry, but the data that we got from this amazing research, anonymous data, is, I think, very first time ever used in an artistic context. Like the pioneership of the ideas and their importance, I think, coming from the pioneership of the research and the mission applied to the art world. Like, it's just an incredible symbiotic connection.
What was the data?
Okay, so this part is very inspiring. First of all, deeply grateful for SpaceX that made it happen. Let's just, because the machine that made this happen, Dragon, is the machine that took this wonderful mission to the space. I think, to me, yes, we as an artist, I was very lucky to work with heartbeat data, EEG data, but I never able to see telemetry data. Telemetry data is one of the most important vitals of the machine that takes the mission happen. This is like the orbital information, cabin pressure, and everything that you can imagine that has to be monitored in that Dragon capsule is a one data set. We are calling them telemetry data painting. Some people are thinking that, oh, it's a very simple UI and UX, bunch of actually that data, to be honest, it's one of the most, to me, valuable information you see here. This is exactly trajectory data of the mission in the orbit and the height and the acceleration of the machine. And on the very right side, you are seeing all the vitals of the, stamina, the oxygen, the nitrogen, the life you need in the machine, in the space to survive, the vitals of the machine. This is very, I think, inspiring. And I don't know if it's ever given to anyone from SpaceX before publicly used. So deeply honored for anyone who made this, especially Jay Harry, like work on this specific part a lot, and we are very grateful for the team allow us to use this data to make this dashboard of the memory to just ground the idea. This is what happens mathematically when you go space, and this is like the grounding data plottings of the entire machine memories. So that's very important.
I love that you call them memories, because we would call them recordings or that. But when you call them memories, I think what's so wonderful about the idea of memories is that human memory is fallible, right? So there's a coloration that happens in the retrieval process of a memory, and we can also be tricked by our memories. So to call these memories when it's pure data and it's accurate, I find that interesting.
I mean, it's honestly like, I mean, from the mission control, from the mission like itself, this is like the vitals. Like you just need to look every single milliseconds of this information to make it successful. It's the core remembering. If you want to remember the mission beyond the visual narrative, that's the mathematical context. And that's like in 2.5 days of entire mission condensed into this NFT piece. Like we are minting the memory of the mission into blockchain. And this is, I think, very meaningful data.
It's great. I mean, you've got latitude, longitude, altitude. But when I look here, some of my favorite words in the English language, apogee and perigee, they're just gorgeous words to say. But then you've got average eccentricity. I mean, what's going on there?
Thanks to SpaceX engineers. I mean, they need that data to like be sure from the ground control. And this is the information that the machine needs to survive in 2.5 days, 3 days of journey. And so, by the way, that same again thanks to another important data, right?
So I was just going to ask you to kind of talk us through the collection, because we have different bands and different groups. So this is.
And if you go one more again down, just want to, because let's finish the maybe visual memories quickly. And of course, when that machine traveling, there is of course 3 important parts: a lift off, entry burn, and splashdown. Right, the moment that it's flying up, the moment like the entry burn, and then of course a splashdown. Like the moment, like three important checkpoint of the memory, 3 successful stories that made this happen. So, and again, thanks to SpaceX archives, we were able to use these visual memories, this moment that everyone watched online, thousands of people like went online and remembered the mission. We took these moments and again, putting in blockchain in a form of like data paintings. Like we are taking that epic moment and just plotting that data into like this fluid dynamics and just remembering that specific memory, that 3 engineeringly perfect moments to celebrate this amazing mission.
And then, something's gone wrong. Your website has broken my computer, Harry.
So sorry.
Refik. No, it's good. I there's a glitch in the machine, and it's happening live for your viewing pleasure.
But these are the SpaceX memories from like their grateful archives. And then of course we have Trish, and of course we have the medicine school that, I mean, researchers that needs vitals from the astronauts, right? So we got the heartbeat data, which is, I think I'll explain later. We have the ultrasound data, and ultrasound data is very also important, I guess, because first of all, one of the reason this drop, we designed it in a way that we want to appreciate our community, our collectors, and CWS tokens owners. So what we did is we designed a one piece of collection, 100 unique data sculptures using these astronauts' remarkable ultrasound data while they were in space, and how their like vitals were working. And specifically, there was like these 3 types of scanning, SVC, carotid vascular, and ophthalmic, and the bladder ultrasounds, like three type of research done in the space. What's going on in this area of body that is changing over time, and thankfully coming back in healthy conditions. I think this information is extremely important from a medical context. But for me, when I saw the data, it's a black and white, super like sci-fi information. Like, okay, can we transform these memories into this, expressive contemporary sculptures generated by code? So we generate 100 unique data sculptures and with different unique textures, only to our top 100 collectors who have been in the journey since day one. And we made these last 3 months, I guess, Jay Harry, together, like giving this opportunity to people to be able to get them. And I think yesterday, so far, 80 of them minted. The secondary is already, I know one of them sold for more than 11 or 12 ETH. Like there's a very positive reaction to them. And the good news, of course, not only virtual, we will be 3D printing them and giving back to our collectors. So always finding a way of physical and virtual connection. And they will be 3D printed sculptures.
I mean, how do you come up with the ideas? I mean, do you have a team and you brainstorm with them, or you just go for a walk and you go, I've got this massive project. What am I going to do?
So first of all, from day one, grateful for my team. It's a very long journey, as I said, like since last 8 years as a studio. But every single data for a studio is a new journey. So we take very seriously and spend significant time and not rushing it without understanding data. But it was a very clear direction, because we know that we have the memory data, we know that we have a machine goes to space, and we know there are 4 wonderful humans allow us to use their data. I mean, this is a very clear start point. And thanks to like the, again, approval of this data, that opens up the imagination. And also in here, what we are seeing, again, what are the memories of this mission we can represent in a different way? So we know that in the journey on YouTube, right, we have a video. We have all the like image ever recorded in this mission. We have the sound data, the voice data, right, and text data. So we took all this information and also use AI and plot every single different medium into 3 different data sculptures. So I'm calling them data universes. So we have been using this lower dimension reduction algorithm last 6 years since archive dreaming, starting with TSNE, UMAP, and many other brilliant algorithms, allowing researchers to look at vast amount of information in a more understandable fashion. So what we are seeing is a 6-dimensional data sculpture of every single image taken during the mission. Imagine video archive and plotted every single frame, and each of them analyzed by an image recognition algorithm called ResixNet, and then later, which is at, let's say, 1024 dimension, reduced into 6 dimension, X, Y, Z, and RGB, right? So the colors represents similarities, and the location of the particles represents similarities. Who knows, when they see the world from the space, overview effect, maybe it's somewhere there. When they just, maybe the interior space, like all that different type of, or maybe the ground operation, like, every single image ever recorded is here in this piece.
Well, that's incredible. The thing that springs to mind for me, Harry, is it must have been a challenge to get all the stakeholders to agree to do this. I mean, I'm curious if you can enlighten us what the production process was like for you, because I have a feeling it probably nearly didn't happen at various times.
I mean, Robin, you and I wear a similar hat. We both come from a production background, and I would say that this one was a tall order. Jumping through a lot of hoops, very fragile at the best of times, and just delicate and sensitive. But we got there because I honestly believe that there was a shared vision to get Refik what he needs to do what he does. And when people understood the longer term vision of what this was going to do and what this was going to bring and how it was going to highlight the work that goes into this research, everyone was incredibly supportive. So it did come together, but yes, a lot of red tape and of course just protocol, which is, to be expected. But it's a strong team now. Everyone is rooting for Refik, and everyone is behind this project, and it's amazing to see it all come to life.
What was their response like when they saw the artwork? Because I guess you must have had a reveal at some point when you showed them what you'd created.
The Translational Research Institute for Space Health presented a unique piece to the head of Baylor College of Medicine in New York a couple of weeks ago, and they were incredibly impressed and very, very happy with the outcome of this. And of course, there's a big overarching and very important component to this entire project, which is that by way of the commander of the Inspiration 4 flight, Jared Isaacman, 30% of the proceeds of this initiative are going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So there is a very strong shared vision from all the stakeholders to see the potential of this drop being maximized, because I mean, ultimately it's helping sick children, which is amazing.
Yeah, Jared he's very well known for trying to put the right face on things which it's very easy to kind of criticize and paint as frivolous. But I think what's been really interesting in the last, I guess, 10 years is we've suddenly become obsessed with extraplanetary travel, of spaceflight, of transhumanism. I guess that's probably where we're going with this. And Refik, we've been talking about humanity, machines, and blending of that. Do you think about transhumanism? Is that a subject that fascinates you? Because I find it completely fascinating. I can't stop thinking about it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, not necessarily believing in singularity. I don't believe that little bit dystopian narrative excites me, but I have a much more optimistic view on this. Like, first of all, like transhumanism can also start with like the mental health, right? It can start with like protecting our memories. Like we still have Alzheimer, dementia. I mean, we are in 101. Like we have so much way to like, go. We have so much research to make. Yeah, DeepMind gratefully create this protein folding just recently, right? We didn't even see the impact of it in the science because of like mRNA research. We all survived from the pandemic. Like we are just learning as humanity the basic steps of like how to use extensive technology. But in this research, what is inspiring is, again, thanks to like Jared Isaacman. I mean, his Twitter message was so nice. He just personally said like really to put together like meaningful project. But we also did something very, I think, meaningful. I hope people can understand. We took the heartbeat of a human in space and turned it into a heartbeat sculpture to say that that heartbeat in the space can be the hope for a young mind and soul that needs the research to survive. And I think connection between that two worlds, I mean, grateful for this research and grateful for the opportunity and grateful for people who are supporting the cause, will create something very meaningful. And I think it will take many years to be able to understand how the blockchain used in a good cause, how blockchain can construct creative ways of supporting, or solving problems. I think we are trying that idea, right? Minting someone's heartbeat to create a value for a research in a children's hospital is a very fresh take on how to use technology for a meaningful and purposeful way. So I think this is why it's very inspiring beyond just another NFT.
Yeah, there's a horrible glut of dystopian visions of what technology will do for us.
Yeah.
I also share this positive idea about transhumanism, that there will be a synthesis of sorts that benefits everyone. I'm very hopeful that some of the ills of the world be solved by that. I actually, basically, my thesis is that once you can combat scarcity of life, it gives people more time to think, and they're less of a rush. They'll actually be more mindful about the time they do have. We're just in such a rush to do everything before we die that we forget about other people, and that's my hope, and that's kind of the promise of AI is that time becomes meaningless, and so you think about other stuff instead.
Yeah, and also like let's remember this, like it's a big revolution. It's a renaissance. The NFT space and blockchain communities are creating an impact, and I think let's remember this. I mean, there's a massive potential here that I think community as a whole can generate much purposeful and meaningful outputs that can create a massive change in humanity. And that's not like anymore.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think what you've just described is a very, very rare skill. And I think we're seeing the power of communities, but generally what I would consider blue chip or responsibly blue chip projects are the ones that have that. And they're not that many of them. And I think, again, what you manage to do to data, translating it through your own eye and vision, is humanize it. And that is what we need from art. But it's very easy to kind of go, oh, it's just graphics, it's just machines, it's just code. It's like, no.
That's surface.
There
How to
is
bring
so much artistry in all of that. Harry, how did you approach Refik? How did you get him on board? What was the pitch?
I think I've been asked this before, and I think it was interesting. I'd actually reached out to Refik about a year prior about something completely different.
Yeah.
And there was just a very polite conversation. The thing about Refik is he literally responds. Your email might blow up when I say this, but Refik, I don't even know where he finds the time in the day, but he responds to everyone. And we had this very interesting but very short dialogue. Loved what he was doing, had a few ideas, and then just sort of shelved it. And when it sort of rolled around and these conversations started with Trish, it was just a complete logical click in my mind, and immediately wrote to Refik, and he came back to me 10 minutes later saying, absolutely 100%, I'm in, let's do this. I want to see everything. Let's go. And the rest was history. A few trips to LA later, and here we are. But yeah, it's been a year in the making, but it seems to have gone incredibly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, very openly, the data and how you, Jay Harry, like frame the context and discourse was the inspiration. Not another NFT project, not another like a data, but a meaningful and purposeful one. That was like that clicks different.
It does. I remember when you told me about it, Harry, I was just like, "Ooh, that's pretty sexy. That's pretty sexy." And then I saw the Netflix documentary. I was like, "Oh, I didn't feel it." So I was like waiting for the art to drop, because I feel like there's in the abstraction it becomes more beautiful, in a sense.
Well, Refik, do you recognize the voice?
Again,
Robin was kind enough to do the voiceover read for the first one we put out around this project.
Thank you, Robin. Your voice that people understood better and deeper.
Yeah, that was me. I brought the English.
I thought it was. I think it was actually supposed to be a scratch video, and I'm like, Robin, can we use this? It's great.
That's how I do. Oh no, I was very happy to be contributing to it. So, big question: what's next for you, Refik? What's next? Can you reveal anything?
Yes. First of all, deeply grateful to our community that this is happening. We are on the shoulders of those giants, people deciding to support, become a part of a journey. Thank you. And second, it was a dream project for many years called Dataland. And that's our take on metaverse. And for us, metaverse is beyond just VR, AR, XR. Metaverse is something very special. So as a studio waiting for 10 years, it's time to take the step in, and we are creating our version of it. And by the way, all these NFTs to me is, this question comes a lot, by the way, fingers crossed. Yeah, so we are pushing the Dataland concept and making it happen. And yesterday we announced that every single project we did in the NFT space will be a token, will be an access point, and every single NFT will be a body of work in Dataland. You can touch, you can smell, and hopefully remember forever. So we are using multi-sensory research last 3 years, creating the scent of AI, scent of metaverse. We are doing some very, very exciting stuff coming up for every collector's.
I know that the whole metaverse thing, it's been co-opted by just the most idiotic bunch of people who don't have a vision for it, don't have an understanding of it. But I want to be in your head right now, digging around, trying to understand what your version of the metaverse is.
Almost
our version of the metaverse is going to be, it's going to be me in a mocap suit using Unreal Engine, doing real-time motion tracking to puppet characters in worlds that hopefully come out of my imagination, and we can do it live, because live experiences are, and that's what Jules Zerback was talking about yesterday. Live, direct, full rendered ray tracing, like the power in like just Unreal 5 is like,
oh wow, yeah.
I'm just like, give me more of that, please. So we can go anywhere in the world, we can be anywhere, but it can be pink, it can be blue, and I can be a rabbit, or I could be a lion, and and I can just do it like that.
Yeah, and we are the winners of Epic Games Mega Grants. So last year we got.
Of course you are. That was obvious. We applied for one, didn't get it.
I mean, thanks to the Epic Games team, honestly, that open our mind and resources. So they have amazing things cooking as well.
I have no doubt. I'm fully in. I'm fully in. So I mean, will Elon tweet about this?
The community should just ping him. I mean, I did my best 2-3 times, and
all you have to do is tell him there's a SHIB token or a Dogecoin token embedded in one of the pieces, and like that, it's done. It's done.
But my feeling is it's so meaningful. So first of all, even we know that like he didn't even retweet about Grimes, right? So like so there may be some ethics that he's applying to his NFTs in general. And it's a SpaceX data, maybe there, I don't know, ethics is something different that maybe he's applying, or it's just a matter of time to see from the other millions of other nodes that he's getting. And I think
he's bought a massive stake in Twitter, and Twitter made their NFT play pretty clear. Anyway, enough about Elon. Nobody cares about Elon. Harry, what's next for you? What can you reveal?
Well, I noticed Yusef's message pop up at the bottom there. I can't reveal anything. And I think, honestly, it's not to say that there isn't a hell of a lot going on and we don't have some big announcements that we will soon be making. Focus is on the drop right now. But we've done very well in this last year to stay pretty mute about the things that we're working on until they're actually happening. And I think that really has been probably one of the most difficult challenges of the last 12 months for me, when obviously with collaborations with the sorts of people that we've been putting this together with, you just want to sing to the houses about. But yeah, we have a lot in the pipeline, and the focus is very clear, and the direction is a good one. So we look forward to sharing what's next, and there are a few things. But for now, we're in the middle of this drop, and this is the vision right now. This is 12 months of work, and it's a lifetime of work for Refik.
I think what's been striking about you guys, and I find this about Park as well, is the execution. It's always about idea, but then there has to be execution. And I think the way you've managed to put Creative Work Studios together, the way you've managed to bring Refik to the table and get this project over the line, that speaks to your tenacity, but it also speaks to just, I think, a love for really pushing yourself to do the best work you can every time.
It's very sweet.
I'm not coasting.
No, that's very sweet of you. I do think there is a need for us to do things in a very considered manner. I think that people in this space have a tendency to rush things, and it may be to our detriment that we take our time. But the way that we apply ourselves is with meaning, and it has to be right. It has to be perfect. I would say that even looking at the way in which the drop mechanics have been put together for this Refik inspiration for drop has done wonders to mitigate any risk of there being gas wars, which is a big criticism that a lot of projects get. We've been able to work very closely with the team at RAS to ensure that everything's gone incredibly smoothly with this, but the time and the effort that's gone into that is massively underestimated. There's a huge consideration given to everything that we do, and I think there needs to be moving forward. And one project at a time, but do them well. And I think this is something that is very core to what we're trying to do. We've certainly got the skill sets. We have a great extended team of people all over the world that are helping us with the things we're putting together. And it's nice to transition what we've built over the last decade into what is now, looking to do brand collaborations to support artistic talent in the NFT space. And that's a great vision. And so far, so good.
So your partner on this was Manifold, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
And the feedback from them was that it had gone very smoothly by all accounts so far.
No complaints.
No complaints. I had some complaints for some big artist friends, big collector friends of mine who were baffled as to how you put the qualifying conditions together. But I mean, you've explained it now that it was to mitigate this gas scenario situation problem.
I mean,
and I suppose,
but also like to like really respectfully, giving back to the community. And I think yes, it's a kind of an open feeling, but also like giving people to like chance of following closely. Don't apply the other rules that we are seeing in like, no offense, but low fruit. There are many projects are applying. So
they're shit.
Yeah,
they're shit.
Yes.
Let's be honest, they're shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't want to go that path of like reaching many people. In fact, just create a profound, meaningful journey for the collectors that I think they will be a part of the journey. And it comes from this little bit more curated world of collectors. So people know the project much better, read about it and understand about it, and then be a part of it. I think this is a much more important thing we are missing in the NFT space.
Question here, is CWS, that's Creative Work Studios, going to collab with Refik again into future? I think that's in the future. But Scoop, will it happen?
I think that question should read, is Refik going to collab again with CWS in the future?
I mean, mission to Mars.
Let's remember that this is only a one mission, right? We did, Jay Harry. I think, as we all know, the space research going more and more advanced. And it's predictable that the memories in the space will becoming important. And I think this is a milestone. And I hope Jay Harry we will find ways of putting and finding this meaningful memory of space research into blockchain. I think we will do that.
I would say that it has been an absolute pleasure, a true privilege to have worked with Refik and his team on this project. What an absolutely delightful bunch of people the RAS team are. I have enjoyed thoroughly every visit to the studio, every call. It is hugely inspiring. And I've worked on this project for over a year, just hoping at least something rubs off. These are very smart minds with a very clear vision. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, Refik. All
together, and thank you for pushing all this. Like people are since like very SpaceX, like what people are still like looking for this like logos I'm reading in there. Like people are still like thinking like we can do this project. We thought that data sets, like I mean, like yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I think it's time for us to end. But I have one last question, which is we saw the birth of this kind of explosion in the NFT movement based around art. And I think a lot of people suddenly found themselves interested or fascinated or intrigued by art, particularly crypto digital art. And then it kind of moved to PFPs, and the arts side of it got kind of left behind. And I wonder if you feel like you have a mission to kind of reinstate the value back into appreciation of art and what the art actually was, in this context.
I mean, if you remember 2 years ago around this time, right, and maybe a year ago around this time, I don't think PFPs or other like objects that have a value was the idea that making the people connect. At the end, the reason we have NFTs is the culture. If we don't have a culture, there wouldn't be any NFTs, right? Another like credit card experience, anything in life, which is fine. It's great, a function, but a boring function. So I think culture makes it more exciting and valuable. So I think every single creator in the domain should be a part of the journey. And I think this quick value creation through just predictable pipelines will be most likely hurting many creators. The question is, there's a remarkable resource in the ecosystem. There's a remarkable like amount of like economics, but are people really thoughtful enough? Like again, we have to remember Medici's in Renaissance. We have to remember the patronage in the space to give resources to the creators, to foster, to make a stable and trustable future. And if it's only just objectifying a bunch of like PFPs, I don't see a future that will be healthy for humanity.
Well, that's about as good and profound a note to end on. Let me just say thank you so much to Refik Anadol for joining us on the stream, Jay Harry Emerson from Creative Work Studios as well. Please do check out The Drop. It is an important memory for humanity, and it's an important memory for all of us. And that is as big and wonderful a vision as you could possibly have. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully speak to you very soon.
Yes. Bye.